Okay. Uh, we are live, so set this up. Okay. Hi everyone, and welcome to another lecture. So today we'll be learning about. We'll not be learning anything. We'll be doing our major project. So this will not be a single class. Like it will be like we'll be covering at least 2 lectures, or it might even take 3 lectures for us to complete the entire thing. So this is a part of the backend development that we are running. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm Soham Mukherjee. I'm a software developer. Currently, I'm working with Google. Before that, I worked with Code Nation for 1 year. I am a code ICPC regionalist. I have been into regionals 2 times, 2017 and 19, and I'm also a 6-star coder at CodeShare. What will I be teaching you here? I'll be teaching you web backend, React.js, system design, cloud services, and data structures and algorithms. Now, if you want to get a free sample Relevel test paper, you can use my referral code Soham10 and get a free sample test paper. Now, talking about Relevel, what exactly Relevel is? So many a times candidates face problem like they don't have proper degree that's needed for certain roles, or they don't have proper connections, so they're asking people for referral but they're not getting referred, or the resume is not standing out, so they're applying for hundreds of companies but they're not getting a call. So if you're such a candidate who is facing these problems but you believe that you have the skills to crack any good company, then Relevel is the perfect solution for you. What is Relevel? Relevel is India's first test hiring platform by Unacademy that will help you find job. Now you can get the job based on your skills and talent, and not based on what degree you have, what network connections you have, and these things. What are the benefits of participating in the Relevel test? There are over 50 plus companies, including top startups and unicorns, who are hiring through Relevel. There are over 1,000 plus job openings across the domain: business development, front end development, and back end development. You can think that the entire process is time consuming, it will take a lot of time to complete, or it will take months to complete, but that's not the case. There are multiple rounds of the test, but all the rounds you have to complete within one single day, and the scores will be shared with you within a week. And with Relevel, the best part is that the companies will be approaching to you and you don't have to approach to the companies. That is, the scores will be shared with the companies, so the companies will know whether you are good or bad, and based on that they will approach to you. So you don't have to worry about what connections you have, you know people from those companies or not, and these things. Now registration with Relevel is very easy. You can go to their website, you can find the link on the description below. Once you reach the website, you can click on get hired. After that, you can select a test of your choice. Let's say you want to become a backend developer, so you can select backend development test. After that, you can book a slot as per your convenience. Let's say that you want to give your exam 5 months from now, so just pre-book the slots today, because in that way your slots will be confirmed, and you will also have the motivation to prepare for the exam. So, and also make sure for the day you're scheduling your exams, make sure you're available for the entire day, because there will be multiple rounds of the test, so it might take up your entire day. So once you're done selecting the slot, uh, go and fill in the details for your admit card. Now here, if you see, there's a section to enter referral code. You can use my referral code here, Soham10, and you will get a free sample test paper. After you click on apply, you can go to create account, and after that you will reach the dashboard. Now here you will get all the details related to your exam, like when is the exam scheduled for, and the other details. You will get a practice section where if you have used my referral code in the previous step, you can download the free sample paper, and you can see what type of questions you can expect in the various rounds and what are the various rounds about. So make sure to check Relevel out today. The link is in the description below, so check it out. Also, if you haven't joined us on Telegram yet, make sure you join us there, because you will be notified about whenever I'm coming live, what is the agenda for that day, and these things. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified whenever I'm live or what is the agenda for that day. And make sure to like and share as well. Like if you're liking the videos, like and share it with your friends so that they can also learn. And with this, we'll start the agenda for the day. So let me know if you have any doubts. We'll wait for some time. If you have any doubts, other than after that, we can start. So what will we develop today, or what will be our major project about? You can tell me, like you can give me some ideas if you have any. Like I don't have any a good idea, like a brilliant idea. I would say it's just a common thing that decided we can build, because there's a lot of functionalities there. But yeah, if you have some ideas, you can definitely suggest them on the chat, and we can take a look at them as well. Hmm. Let me know if you have any good ideas, or otherwise we'll proceed with mine. So what I have planned is mostly like something like e-commerce website. Uh, there will be a lot of features. Yes, we'll see like what features we can do, but other than that, it's nothing like nothing great or nothing extraordinary. But it's a e-commerce website because I feel that this will be a project where you can learn a lot of things actually. So that's why I've chosen this. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, you can give them. Because anyways, like we can do on the fly as well. There's no issue in that. Let me know if you have any ideas or anything that you want to share. Hope I'm audible. Yes. Okay. In case you don't have any ideas, we'll start with what we wanted, like what we have planned to do. Let's see. Okay. So what we'll build today is something similar to a e-commerce website only. Let's say so e-commerce website. We can sell anything, like we can build something like Amazon, that are like general e-commerce website where you can find anything, like any item that you want. We can build some specific things as well, like toys, for just for toys, or let's say just for shoes or something like that. And we can also, maybe we can also like do something, some services that we are providing, like what services can we provide? Anything, like let's say chartered accountants, or eh, software developers, like freelancing websites, something like that. Like we can provide services as well. We can provide goods as well. So we can decide whatever we want. But the structure will kind of remain the same, right? So the features that we will build will kind of remain the same. Only maybe a few modifications would be there based on the product that we are delivering. But yeah, mostly it will be the same. So what we'll do here is, what project are we going to make? Yes, that's, I already said what we are going to make. Like we'll create a e-commerce website, full, try to create a full-fledged solution, like with maybe not as complicated as Amazon or those things, because there is a lot of other things that they do. But yeah, like basic, just consider basic version of Amazon, or basic versus of version of any e-commerce website that sells toys or shoes or something, right? uh, but it will have a lot of features. We'll try to make it feature rich, but let's see. Cool. So let's think about, okay, let's say we want to build something similar to Amazon, right? So we want to build something similar to Amazon. Let's say we yeah, we can build something similar to Amazon, or we can focus on a particular item maybe. If we want to build shoes, then we can actually have brands and those things, like there will not be much complication. So let's say we want to build a shoe store. So what we are building is a shoe store. So this is what we are building, a shoe store, right? If you have any suggestions, you can feel free to like give them, because anyways, like we can, I haven't prepared or anything like that. I'm open to anything, like I'm open to building anything that you want. So in case if you have some suggestions, you can place them as well. But yeah, let's say we are building a shoe store. So how do we do that? How do we go about building that, right? First of all, what we have to plan, like whenever you have a project, first thing what you have to plan is what is the model, what will the model look like, right? Model, by model I mean what will be the data, what will the database schema be, what are the various tables that you will have, what are the various fields that you will have. Those things, first thing you will figure those things out, and then your model, it completely depends like what will drive what. Like sometimes in some projects what you can do is you can first create the apis or think about the apis, and depending on what apis you have, you will create, you will drive the models, like what are the what will the model be. So that's one approach. Model means the database, like what will the database structure be like. This the second approach is the database structure or the model will be driving what are the apis that you have, so it will be driven by the model, right? So we can take any of these approaches, or we can use a hybrid of them. Like initially we can start off with fixing the model and then building the apis, and as needed we can also modify on the models, like if there is some other thing that we have missed. So let's first start by designing the schema, because it kind of makes sense to first build the database and then we'll start the basic version, and if needed we can iterate on the schema that we have. Okay, so what will we do today? Today mostly will be first of all we'll be planning about the project, what are the various features that we want in our project, what we'll be planning about the database schemas and those things. We'll also plan about how do we implement those things, like what will the architecture look like, or what are the various services that we use, or what are the various tools that we'll use, and those things. And finally we'll also maybe instead of shoe, I was thinking let's go about food, right? uh Maybe that would be better if we build a food store, because yeah, let's do that. Let's say we want to have a food store. Okay, anyways, what else we'll do, we'll try to start the coding as well. We'll be building a few basic services that are there, and in the next class we'll be continuing with the product. So yeah, that's the agenda for today and the next class, kind of like in brief. So e-commerce website, let's say we are building a food store, that will basically like similar to different food apps that you have. You have Swiggy, Zomatos, those things, right? Or you also like can think only one joint, like let's say a KFC app, which will give you the various items that are there in KFC. So you can consider both of them, but we'll go for not just one brand but multiple brands, right? So like multiple will support multiple shops. uh, so let's think likewise, right? So we are building a food store, and multiple food courts or food shops or food stalls can actually register themselves with us. And so now if you see carefully, like if you think carefully, uh, there is provider, like who will be providing or making the food, and there is a consumer who will be consuming the food, like the clients of us, right? Or not the clients of us, the clients of us will be the producers, but those who will be consuming the food, let's say the people who are ordering the food, right? So we have food food seller and food buyer, kind of, right? So food seller, let's call them food seller, and we'll have food buyer. So we should have kind of two different applications, because what a food seller can do, it will be very different from what apis a food buyer would get. Although some set of apis might be common between them, but like for example, food buyer can actually order for a food, but food seller can upload what are the various items that are available in his shop. And also he can upload images and those things, like about various items. He can edit those things, he can delete items, uh, he can take orders, he can accept orders and those things, right? So maybe we can have those features as well. Okay, so first of all, let's think about this, right? How do we plan to do this? Okay, so Okay, food seller, we have food seller and we'll have food buyer. Okay, first is there will be what will be the databases. First is food seller. Let's focus on the sellers. They will have a database called first is what will the database be? Food items. There can be a database called food items. uh, yeah, food items maybe. Okay, first is what are the shops that are registered with us. So first is shops. So what are the various shops that are registered with us? So shops, what will be there? Like it can be shop ID, unique ID that is there for a shop. So we'll have shop ID. We'll have shop name, the name of the shop, and any other details that we want to have. Let's say location, the shop location. So shops, instead of writing shop ID, shop name, we can even write ID name like that. So ID, name, location. What else can we have? The ratings of the shop overall. So ratings, uh, average ratings. Let's say we call it average rating. Average ratings. Okay. So yeah, do we need anything else? Like you can suggest if we need to store some additional information. So this is what I feel should be enough for the shop database that we'll have. So this will be various, like whenever there's a shop that wants to register with us, they will basically, it will basically mean there should be a entry corresponding to that shop in the database, right? Like this ID name, these things. Okay. Second is what are the various, like we are selling foods, we are providing, like we are showing foods to the clients. So we obviously should have a foods database, right? A foods database, or items, we can call them items or foods, anything. Food items, let's call it food items. Food items. What does the food item contain? First is it will contain a ID, food item ID. It will contain a name, name of the food item, maybe some description. What does this food item represent? Some image, like image of the food item, which shop this item belongs to, right? So if every, like let's say there is a food item called chow mein, right? Or there's a food item called biryani. Now biryani can be served by multiple shops, right? And we cannot have a single food item named biryani. So for every shop that sells biryani, we should have a corresponding entry in the food items table that will contain that item with the shop ID as well, because the biryani from different shops will be different, right? So shop ID, there should be a shop ID. What else? Price is a important thing. Price, we can think about quantity as well, like is available or something like that, that maybe food sellers can set. So is available. Also for food shops, it can be open or close. Is open, like if the shop is open, is the outlet is open, or if the outlet is closed. So it can have open as well. I'm not sure if the chat is not loading or something. Oh, okay. It's fine. Good. So is open if the if the food court is open or not, right? So food items will have these things. Maybe we can note these things down. We can note these things somewhere, like here. Let's say so database schemas. First database that will have. So let's number them, enumerate them. So we'll enumerate. Yes. First database that we'll have is food shops. Now, what does shops have? Shops will have. So what do we find? ID, name, location is open, whether it's open or not. And other than that, or we can write it like this as well, is open. Other than that, what will it contain? Location name, id is open, rating, average ratings, so average ratings. And what else is there? We decide. Yeah, these things. If you have some suggestions, you can let me know that as well. Like then we'll have food items table. So, or let's call it items, id, name, some description about the food item, some image if needed, image or images. It can be multiple images as well. So yeah, it can be multiple image, right? For a single food you might want to give multiple images, like multiple views of the food or something like that. So in that case we can have multiple images, so it's better to maintain them as a separate array altogether. So items, what else will be there that is specific to an item? The shop it belongs to, so shop id. The shop id, it belongs to price is there. And what else can be there? Let's see. Price is there, is available, if the item is available or not, so is available. Okay, so this brings us to item images, right? Item image. So item image, this will contain id, image id for that item. Yeah, we can have image uri, so let's call it uri. And also what is the item it belongs to, so item id. Item id, this will be a foreign key, right? So let's mention the foreign keys as well. So this will be the foreign key, and here also this will be a foreign key. Item id, this will be a foreign key, right? Sorry, foreign key. Okay. Let me know if you have some suggestions here, like in case you want me to add some fields. Meanwhile, I'll also open the stream in another device, because not sure the chat is working or not. Yeah. Okay. If you have some suggestions, you can let me know in the chat as well. I'll surely take them. Okay. Okay, what else do we need? We have food items, we have the item image. What else can we have on the side of the shop? Like what else they can add? Any ideas that you have? What else can be there? Like this is mostly for, we are focusing on the shops, right? Food sellers, right? Food buyers will come into that later, but first of all, food seller. With perspective of a food seller, is there anything that we are missing? So we have these things. We have these things. Shops, all the various shops. Then we have shop id. We have item images, and like this. Okay, with respect to items, can we have anything else? Like well, I'm not considering those things like specifications, like you can have add-ons and those things as well. So maybe we can later add that, like we can have for items, we can have add-ons as well, like that can be added to items with some additional price. So we can add that as well later on. But yeah, for now we can just skip this part, like think that there are no add-ons or those things right now. All the items are simple. They yeah, that's it, right? Is there anything else that we can add? Maybe. So we have items, we have shops, we have item images. Anything else on the shop side, shopkeeper side? What do you think that we can add? Maybe or the food seller side? Price. Hmm. Yeah, I think that should be it. Like, I'm also not able to think anything else. Uh, yeah, maybe reviews. Yes, we have forgotten a big part. Although it's not particular to a food seller, it's maybe like it's particular to clients, but it kind of depends for the food. Okay, we'll talk about that when we talk about food buyers, because reviews are given by them, right? So we'll talk about that later. But average rating we can store against a shop. That's totally fine. Cool. Uh, okay, so we have the database schemas for the seller part. Let's now talk about the buyer part, right? Okay, so food buyer, that is people who are purchasing, right? Food buyer. Okay, what else all we can have? First is we have to have them logged in. So user account will be like ID, name, yeah, ID. I want to know that in big company like Google, Facebook, what is their big project? Why companies like take candidates who are well in DSA? How DSA will help them build a real project? Okay, so see, why do they take DSA, right? There should be some metrics, right? How are you measured? How good you are, right? So there has been a lot of arguments on this, like why DSA again. There has been a lot of arguments on some similar front, like why are people good in PCM chosen for IITs, right? Where they're studying computer science, which is completely different thing. So the same reason applies here, right? Because if someone when someone is good in DSA, they are good at solving problems, right? When you are good at solving problems, see, you generally do not need a lot of like you do not need to know a lot of languages, right? Like it's not like at the number of languages you know, the better you are, because like many people have this conception, like I have also read similar arguments, like I know these many languages and those things. That doesn't make any sense, right? Because you can easily learn those things. You can easily learn any language or any framework or these things within, like, let's say a week, right? So why will you be at advantage? So problem solving is not something that you can learn. It's something that you develop over a lot of time, right? It's not something that you can learn within a week. So uh, because they're good problem solvers, so when you are actually uh, I'll give an example maybe. So when you actually think about optimizing something, right? Like there is a lot of requests coming in. So if you are good, yeah, you might, if you're good at DSA, right? So you might actually think about all possible scenarios. Like whenever you're good at DSA or those things, you have a tendency to think about corner cases always. So when you apply that similar logic while building your projects, that helps you reduce, firstly that will help you reduce errors, right? Because you will already think about the corner cases. Okay, if the person types this thing instead of this, or if the person clicks on this button, or if the person cancels the flow here, what will happen? So you will already be thinking about those things while you are building the project. So that's one of the things. Second is you will have a lot of knowledge about, you will be good at problem solving. So whenever you are given a problem, like eventually whatever projects you build, firstly that's a problem to solve, and after that coding comes in, right? Coding comes in much later. So if you're good with problem solving, but that comes at a much higher level, like when you have a lot of experience, that comes with experience as well, not just problem solving skills. You can actually build you can make good decisions, right? About what data, not only what data structure, like how to build the project, but what data structures to use. Maybe you can use some special data structure there that might optimize things a bit. So but that those things come in much later, right? Initially you just have to like you are given what you have to do, you have to just do that task. So in those cases, yes, mostly like how efficient you are, how fast you are doing, and how error free you are doing, or how good code you are writing, these things will matter. Although good code is kind of a bit counterintuitive with respect to DSA, because in DSA we generally name variables anything, but if you see the interviews, they focus on the code quality that you write as well. So good code is something that's very important. But apart from that, problem solving skills, like and that's a matrix. Mostly it's just a matrix that they use. Like if someone is good at this thing, maybe he's good at learning things, he's good at solving problems, so maybe he's a good candidate. So again, like same argument, why does people see physics, chemistry, maths while hiring for IT, while taking IT students, right? So you cannot argue on that, because if you I have seen, like, there was a Quora post, I believe, which I completely like, I'm against that. Like, someone actually told that I know Django, but my friend didn't know Django, so I deserved the IIT more than he, but I didn't crack min. So but again, like, if you see actually the IITians are actually doing pretty well, right? After they're learning, like, it doesn't take a lot of time to learn, but as they're already, like, they're pretty much sharp, like they're already pretty good, because that's established from the exams. So they can learn things easily. They can also, there's some mathematical things involved, like when you come to artificial intelligence and those things, there's a lot of mathematics involved. There might be physics involved if you're working with motion and those things. So they're already good at those things, so they kind of excel. And apart from that, they're already good students, so they learn things quickly, right? So that's basically the idea. So you cannot like compare like that why this, why that. It's something they use as a matrix, so you have to like just do that. Okay. But also they see projects as well. It's not that they just see DSA. Like, some companies see projects as well, what good, if you have done good projects or not. Also they see your, maybe sometimes they see your skills, maybe not as a fresher. Some companies do see your skills, like they will ask you to develop something even for fresher roles. But generally, if you have 1 or 2 years of experience, they will, you generally will face around where you have to build some product or some set of APIs, right? So that's also there. So it's not like it's always just DSA. And there's system design rounds as well, or low level design rounds as well. So that's there. Okay, food buyer. So let's talk about food buyers, right? So we'll have users. Users will have user ID, location, where are the name, firstly name, where, what's their name, where are they situated in location. What else can be there for a user? A user can have uh, location can be actually replaced by address. Let's just replace location by address, right? And after that, what else can be there? There can be some other things as well, like what can be there? Uh, User ratings maybe, although that doesn't make much sense yet. Okay, ID, name, address. What else can be there for a user? uh, okay, we'll think about this. But let's come to the other part. Like we'll have a cart. Like, cart is basically where also past orders as well. Orders, maybe orders that will contain what a cart we can develop later on, or we can develop with this only. So orders is basically the orders that has been placed. So it will contain a order ID. It will contain the user ID. It will contain the item ID. What is the item? Or order can have multiple items, right? There can be multiple items in a single order. So we can have a different table for that. But order belongs to a particular shop, so we can have a shop ID mapping here only. So shop ID, what is the shop he has ordered from, and then order items, we can have a order items table. So order will have multiple items, right? So ID, uh, what is the order ID, and what is the item ID? What is the item ID? So these are all foreign keys, right? Let's write them. Foreign key, this is also a foreign key. This is also a foreign key. What is the order ID? What is the item ID is foreign key. uh, Maybe we can just skip this ID part completely. These two will become the primary key, but let's just keep it. Okay, so order items is there. So this solves the order part. We can have carts as well. Cart maybe we can add later on, like if we have time. But let's just write it for now. Cart will have a ID, and cart belongs to a user. So user ID. Cart belongs to a user, so it will be user ID. Uh, and it can have multiple items, right? So cart items. Let's have it cart items. Cart items. So it will be ID, then it will be mapping to the cart ID. Cart ID, let's write it here like this, cart ID, and cart user ID maybe. So oh, okay, no, cart ID and item ID. What is the item it maps to? So this will be a foreign key. This will be a foreign key. So this is the advantage, right? Like if you're building the schema beforehand, this is the advantage, because you haven't written any code, and you right now only identify how you should break your database. Otherwise later on it might be something problematic. Like let's say we just made item many field, a many not a many field, it's a multi valued field under items or under shops, right? In that case there would be a problem in these APIs that we build, which contains item ID. So now it is easy because items is a different table altogether, so we can easily have that. So we can easily have that here, right? Otherwise it would have been a problem if we did it the other way. So cart items, right? What else? We can give reviews about the foods. So reviews will be like review ID, the user who gave it, user ID, the shop about which the user gave the review about. Shop, let's keep it at a shop level right now and not at a food level, item level, but we can even like modify this to item level as well. So user ID, shop ID, and the ratings that is given, rating, and also what is the review message. So comment, let's call it comment. So the comment that the user has, right? And there might be some images for reviews as well, so review image. So let's have review image as well. Okay, we have a lot of things, we have a lot of databases that we have, right? So review image will be ID, URI, and review ID. So this is kind of like what we have. So let's actually have write these things in our doc, and then we can later on modify like as we need. And let me know if you want to know anything, like if you have any suggestions, you can let me know about those things as well. Okay, so let's come to the user part. So users ID, that's the user ID, name, address, maybe phone number, contact number. What else? Nothing else we have added right now. Okay, next we come into orders, right? Orders, yes. Orders will have a order ID. Okay, now for orders we also will have some invoice number, right? So we can have some invoice number here, invoice number, or the ID actually can be a primary key, but let's just keep a invoice number separately, right? ID will not actually create a ID field differently, but will not override the existing. So as we know, Django creates the ID field by default, so we'll just keep that for easier access. But again, like we can make this invoice number as the primary key as well. That's totally fine. Okay, so user ID and shop ID, invoice number, user ID, and shop ID. So what is the user whose invoice this is? What is the shop shop that he bought from? Okay, now next we have order items. Okay, we should not have multiple cart items that are belonging to multiple shops as well. That's also true, right? Can we maybe can we make orders that are like no agnostic of shops, like which shop you're buying from? it just although it makes very less sense here, but if you think about Amazon and those things, there it's shop agnostic, right? Although it doesn't make sense for food websites or Zomato and those things, but we can make that, or we can restrict as well. Let's restrict to shops as well. Let's just do that because it makes less sense for us. So order items. Okay, let's write down the foreign keys parallelly. So name, address, invoice number, user ID, this is a foreign key, and shop ID, this is also a foreign key. So order items, and here we have ID, order ID, which is a foreign key, and it will map to the item ID as well. So item ID. So there can be multiple items in an order. So that's there. Okay, foreign key. Now we have a cart. Okay. Cart will have a ID. It will belong to a user, so it will be user ID, foreign key. Also, okay, user ID, that's fine, I think. And cart item, so it will be ID, it will be mapping to the cart ID, and item, not only item ID, it should be belong to the same shop as well. So we can make sure that this belongs to the same shop, so we can keep shop ID as well, but there's no point, like there's no point of keeping shop ID. We can use the item ID to determine the shop for that, right? So, but we have to make sure that items, so let's write it here, items should belong to same shop, as it makes more sense, right? Okay, cart items is done, order items is done. Cart items, let's see what we had. Okay, reviews and review images, right? So let's have those things only, reviews and review images. So reviews will be what? Reviews will be ID, who gave the review, user ID with a foreign key, and what is the review about the shop ID. So shop ID with a foreign key, maybe some rating and some comments, and review images, if you want image upload there, so ID, some image URI, and review ID, which will be a foreign key. Okay, so this is kind of like, this is what the database schema would look like. Let me know if you have any doubts, or if you have any queries, or if you don't think this is a we can add, or if you think if we can add something, or we can remove something, let me know. But yeah, like this is what it will look like. Is this clear with everyone? How did we build the schema? So kind of like try to do this only, like whenever you are having some project, think about what are the different entities you can have, what are the different tables that you can have, make it normalized as much as possible. Like you can easily make it denormalized, but just try to make things normalized, and that always helps basically. And also like try to build the relations beforehand only, like how they will depend on each other, because later on, like it might become difficult to migrate from the schema that you have. So what we have right now is kind of good, so we can actually go ahead with this, because like as we see, there is no problem right now as such. But yeah, like make sure that you have a basic understanding how the model will look like, and then based on that you can create your APIs and those things, right? Okay, so let me know if you have any suggestions for me, or anything that you want me to change here. We can do that. Is this clear with everyone? Let me know with a yes or no if it is clear with you, or if you have some doubts. After this, we'll move into the APIs that will build, and then how to make it foolproof of 0 days? What do you mean by 0 days? What do you mean by 0 days? Can you elaborate? And if it is others, let me know in the chat if it is clear with you, or if something, if you have some doubts. Okay, I'm not sure about Google 0 day vulnerability. What are those? But you can always like look into what those are, what are the fixes for them, and you can like accordingly you can design your app. So we don't build authentic security for everything that we code, right? There's a big security team that takes care of these things. We don't have to worry about that. So it depends between from organization to organization. Google is a big one, so there are a lot of teams. They have specific tasks, but again, like when I was at Code Nation, we had to every project was kind of independent, so we had to take care of the security aspects. uh, and we have already taken a session on security, so maybe you can take some ideas from there, but I don't have any idea about what Google 0 day vulnerability is, so I can't comment like how you can make it like solve that problem. Cool. Any other thing that you have? Okay, so yep, we'll go into the API design then. What are the APIs that we want? So let's think about this, right? Cool. APIs, what do we want? So let's actually uh, break them down into segments. So this will call the endpoint. We'll call this the endpoint. This is maybe what will be the request structure. So a good way to like document these things, although we are like doing it in an Excel sheet, which is not a good thing. Like you can always use something like a Swagger. We'll also try to use this later on, but yeah, like it's better to document this way, but again, like it will take some time, so it's better to like just go ahead with a Excel sheet for now, because with the interest of time, right? So request structure, what is the response that we are expecting? Maybe that also we can specify what is the response that we are expecting. And what else? Endpoint is okay. uh, what else? Anything else that we need to specify here? Okay, we have endpoint, we have request structure, we have the response structure. Although I'm not sure if we need to write this, but okay, let's have this just response structure. And yeah, that looks good. Okay, let's start, right? So okay, let's start. So first thing that we'll keep, maybe we can color these things up, the background, as their headings, so we can just color them up with good. And let's bold these things up. Yeah, that's good. So first, we'll come into the first part, that is shops. Obviously we'll have CRUD on shops, so let's just write slash shops, and we will have a CRUD on shops. CRUD on shops, that is create, read, update, delete. CRUD on shops. Also maybe we can have authentication is needed somewhere. Create, read. Create authentication is not needed. Read, update, delete, authentication is needed, right? Read also maybe we can talk about that later. Okay, let's just go for specifically, right? First is post slash stops. That will create a so okay, I have not written the purpose only. Okay, let's write the purpose, and let's focus on the request structure and response structure. We'll see later on. Request structure. Okay, purpose will be creating shops. What will be the request structure? Request structure will be the payload that we request structure will be the payload that it expects. So it will be basically, okay, one second, I just to taskbar. Okay, so the payload it expects, so the payload will be basically all the fields. So let's not write it here, let's write it like this, that it expects the shop schema. So let's write a shop schema. The payload that it expects is shop schema, without ratings field, obviously. Like location is open, that can be done later on as well. So id, name and location, I think. So let's write it anyways. Name, and we can have some demo string here, and location. So we'll not do this for all the fields, like we'll just write the fields. So we'll just write what are the fields like this. Name and location is what we'll provide here, and that's it. Okay, so post shops. Let's now talk about the other methods. So first is get shop. So and authentication. Let's write here authentication. Is authentication needed or not? So authentication. So we can keep this color to be like this, and authentication is not needed for this thing. Okay. Second is get slash stops. Okay, we also need to have a response. Okay, that's fine for now. We don't need a response. So getting all shops, getting list of all shops. But this might be needed by the users to query like what are the shops, right? So that might be there. So what will be the request? It's just a get request. We can pass some query parameters like what is the location of the user or what is the requesting user, but that's not something that that we really want. Okay, so okay, how do we actually 1 second, how do we actually differentiate between a shop, because shop will have a separate authentication and users will have a separate authentication, right? So what we can do is we can have a single authentication place only. Like we'll have users, and users can be is admin, right? So users can be is admin, that is he is the shop owner, right? User can be is admin, and this shop can belong to a user id. This shop can belong to a user id who is creating this, right? So user id, and this will be a foreign key. So the users can be separated between admin and non-admin users by a single field called isAdmin, and we can then decide, right? So this authentication is actually needed now. So needed. Actually, everything will need authentication, I believe, except the creating of users. So getting list of all the shops will have their name, will have their look. Okay, we can have filters, right? We can have filters, but let's not let's keep filters for now. We can later on see how do we apply filters and those things. We can have filters like names maybe, or prefix matching or something like that, or location based, but then again it will be a separate problem altogether, like finding all the shops nearby a given location. So authentication is needed. We can skip this right for now because it will be needed everywhere. uh, get shops, post put is update. Put is okay, like it's same as that. So put, or we can go for patch shops, and it updates the shop. And again, like delete, we can delete shops as well. So delete shop. Okay, so we can delete shops as well. So delete the shop. Delete shops slash id. It should be slash id, and it should also contain slash id, right? Shops slash id. Okay. Yeah, this looks good. Next, let's come to the next part. Okay, shops is done. After this, we have items, right? So same thing we'll have for items. So items can be only we have to make sure that items are only added by the owners of the shop, like no one else can add the item, right? So we have to make that thing clear. So post, again, like I'll just write crud, maybe crud items, just to save time, because there's no point of writing everything in detail. So crud create, read, update, delete on items, that's there, right? List items, we don't need to list all the items, so maybe we can just disable that functionality altogether, like listing all items. Just list one item can be good enough. Or list item with respect to a shop, so we can have a filter that given a shop id, list all the items for that shop, right? So we can have that filter. Let's write it down anyways. So crud post is okay. Post, we know that it will create get slash items, and here we can have a query parameter. So uh, all items for a shop. So we can have a query parameter that is shop id. Okay. Get items, post, update, delete are okay. So post, update, delete, let's write it like this here only, update and delete. Or we cannot have like this. Let's write patch and delete slash items slash id. Okay. So this is also done. Okay, items is done. What else? Item image. So post item image, although item image is a different model, yes, but we should not have a different set of apis for item image. Like post item should also contain the image as well, and that should be basically uploaded to s3, and those things should be done, right? So we don't need to actually specify everything, specify these things together. Or we can have a different endpoint for image upload for item. So maybe we can have an endpoint like this: post slash items slash image. We can add like this. We can add an image for the item like this: post slash items slash image, and this will add an image to the item, right? So we can pass in the corresponding details, and when we get the item, we'll also pass in the s3 uri. So this will be a different endpoint altogether. Post items image. So after creation of items, it should fire post items slash image. Yes. Okay. So item image is done. Now we'll come into users. Users we have not done yet, right? Okay. So first is post users, that will create a user. So creates a user. Basically sign up. This is same as sign up, and we will have a login user. So post user slash login, we'll have a login as well, that will log in a user. And also we can have a post user slash logout, that will log out the current user. log out the user. Okay. Okay, we can take okay, these things are there, users is there. After that, what is there? Get users, is get user needed? Profile, maybe for the profile information. So get user can be done only by the given user only, so we can make sure. So get user, get users slash this should return details of the requesting user. It should give the details of the requesting user, right? So get is there, post and put delete will also be there. Put and delete users. Okay. So put nahi, patch, sorry, patch and delete, update and delete, patch and delete. After that, we can have orders. We can have orders. So post orders. So it will create a order. It will create a order. So creates a order. And order items should be created accordingly, right? Like we'll just pass. So what does this take? Let's talk about the request for this. So the request for this will contain all the details for the order, right? What order? Like id is auto generated, invoice id we should generate, user id, shop id. So user id is also there, shop id is what we need. Shop id will be there. Apart from that, it will contain a list of the items, right? List of item IDs, maybe. Okay, list of item IDs, and these has to be added to order items table. It will have a list of item IDs table, item IDs that will have to be added to the order item table. Okay. Yes. So that's there. Let me know if you have any doubts. So post orders is done. What else? Get orders for a user. So get orders will be get all orders for the given user. Get all orders for the given user. So we can maybe do something like this, that. And get orders is okay, and query parameter is not needed, like we already identified the user. Get order, update delete will not be allowed. Like order is placed means a payment has been made and those things, so it should not be allowed. We are not taking care of payments and those things yet, because obviously, like, we will not integrate with a payment gateway, so we will not take care of those things. So cart, so post slash cart, post slash cart, and what will it contain? It will contain the items to be added to the cart, set of items. So add items to the cart. So it will contain a list of items to be added to the cart. Okay, do we actually need the cart, this thing? Do we actually need this? Because it just contains the user ID, right? So I don't think we need this. We can just have the this as the cart table that will contain all the items, right? So let's just get rid of this cart. This is kind of unnecessary, I believe. So item ID, cart ID, we don't need cart ID. We just need user ID and item ID. So user ID fk, item ID. Okay, but here what we have to do is we should also remove from the cart, right? So we should make sure we can delete items from the cart. So delete cart and delete items from cart. So here we provide with item IDs. Here we provide with item IDs and delete items from cart. And here also we provide with item ID. Delete items from cart. Here we provide with item ID. Let's see. Cart items. Item ID is item should belong to the sim shop. Okay. And delete items. User ID. Cart items is ID, user ID, and item ID. Okay. Delete items from the cart. Cool. That sounds good. So apart from that, we have reviews. So the final set of APIs is reviews. So post reviews is add a review, and post reviews image, so add image to a review. Add image to a review. Okay, so we can add image to a review. Let's just assume that we are supporting single upload for now. So add image to a review and add a review and get reviews. Okay, so it will get all the reviews for a shop. So get reviews is basically get all reviews for a shop, and it should contain a query parameter shop ID. Okay, so one thing that we haven't discussed yet is order. Okay, order creates order, right? So place order is also there. So place order is done. What else? Okay, I think this looks good. Let me know if you see some any other API that might be needed. Let me know if you see any other API that might be needed. So we can go with this. Okay. Uh, so these are the set of APIs. In case you can't see, I'll just maybe increase the font size a bit for you guys. So this is a set of APIs that uh, that I'm seeing right now. Like what's needed mostly. You can suggest like if you think that something can be added or something can be removed. We can do that. Okay, I'll be right back. Meanwhile, you can look into you can like go ahead with your suggestion. Okay, so yeah, if you have some suggestions, you can go ahead with them, or if you need some more time to look into this, please like feel free to, and then we can start developing. Okay, and meanwhile also I haven't talked about Swagger. So we can actually document, like we were documenting it here, right? What's the request structure, what's the response structure, and those things, what's the endpoint type and those things. But yeah, like if this a better place to do that is a Swagger document, where you can you will have something like this. So you will get something like this. Like this is a post request. What is the parameter that you can pass here? You can see what is the parameter that you can pass here, or the body that you have to pass here, request body. And based on that, what is the response that you get? You will get the responses here as well, right? Similarly, get paid find by status, it will give you this response. Like this is the response that you get, and this is the request that you have to pass, or the query parameter that you have to pass, right? So like this, you give you create a Swagger document. And generally this is a helpful one, because this is for your reference. Like you can reference from here and see what are the various APIs that are available. And also it's good for the user interface, like UI team who is working, because they can also look into this document and quickly like assume that these endpoints are there, and they can quickly like develop their features, develop their user interfaces quickly, right? So basically that's how, like we can I can actually give an example here. Let's say we'll just modify something here. So yeah, so if you see, you can give refs as well, references given to definition slash pet. So we'll go to the definitions part, and here if you see, there's a pet. So pet type is object, required fields, properties, these are the properties that are there, and those things. So you can specify everything here. So category, tag, everything is there, right? XML and those things. So you can just replace this entire thing with whatever you want, right? Whatever you want here, you can write that. So pet, let's call, instead of pet, what we'll have, let's say we are talking about the user, so we can talk about here user. Okay, this is not editable. This is not edit. It's a read only file. Okay. I have to log in, but yeah, like you can just modify this document. It will be similar to this, and create the endpoints, like create a Swagger document for your endpoints as well. So you can just follow the syntax that's there, right? And that will do it. So this is a YAML file, so you can just write this in YAML, and that will like just create this document for you. Okay. Yes, so that's how you can also write about the various endpoints or various APIs that you need to create, or you can even write it in a Excel sheet, whatever you prefer. But again, like this is a better way to do things. But as we don't have that much time, uh, generally in our project you will have enough time to do these things, so you can actually create a Swagger document quickly. But as we don't have that luxury, we'll just stick to this one, right? So we'll not create a Swagger document for now. Okay, now let's start with the coding. So what we'll do is, I'll just use a existing project file and modify on top of this. So this is the existing. So this is configured with a lot of things, like this is configured with Celery, and I think this is also, I'm not sure, but anyways, like doesn't matter. So we have to probably configure to this CloudWatch and those things, RDS and those things, but we can do those things later on. Okay, so okay, we haven't talked about exactly like the architecture, how what we would follow, right? Let's talk about that a bit. So quickly, how would we get these things done, right? See, most of the things are pretty simple. Like they're mostly CRUD operations that are happening. So most of these things will not be causing any problem, because they're just CRUD operations. You just have to create their endpoints and properly modify the models, that is the database, and that should like take care of these things. But again, like there are post images, right? So these images that are there, these can actually like make some these can actually like take some time. So these are heavy requests. These post images, these are heavy requests. So what we can do is, we can uh, upload. So what will this look like? Let's see quickly. So we have the database. So this is the database. Let's say this is RDS, AWS RDS. We can later connect this to AWS. Anyways, So this is our services, set of services that are there. So this is the services. Now normal flow will be like the requests are coming here. The requests are coming here, they are forwarded to the database, and we get the response. That should be the normal path. But for images, so we send a request with image file. What this is a long request, right? This is a heavy request. So what we should do is we'll use celery workers here, because we have already learned about celery. So this is where the celery workers will be. So this is the celery workers. So this is the celery workers. So for image files, uh, it will be forwarded to the celery workers. What would the celery workers do? So this is for the image files only. The celery workers, what will they do? They will basically upload the file. Where will they upload the file? They will upload the file to S3. So they will upload the file to S3, and they would get a URL, right? S3, from S3 they would get a URL, that is the image URL. What would they do is they will populate the database with the URL. So URL, they will populate this database with that URL in the image field. So they will create a record. So add record. So these celery workers will add a record in the database. Now they can add records parallelly, yes, but the database, as we are using a relational database, the database will be ACID. So all the transactions will be atomic. So there's no problem in that front, right? So this will be the simple architecture that will follow. I don't think there is anything heavy on this side, like anything that's like super complicated here. Yeah, this is the simple architecture that will follow. And after this, what we'll do is we'll also take care of deployments and those things. So we'll obviously we'll use Docker images, and we'll deploy, like we'll learn about deployments later on. So this is a simple architecture that will follow. Like normal requests will go through the service layer, will not create microservices or anything. So they will just go through the service layer. They will go to this database, they will hit the database and get the response. For image files, as their heavy requests, they will be forwarded to the celery workers. Will have a Redis queue in between, and these celery workers will then upload all the files to S3, and from S3, okay, they will upload everything to S3, and from S3 we get the URL, and then we populate, like the celery workers will populate the URL in the database. Basically add a record in the table, that is image tables, right? So review images and item images, these tables, right? So that's what we'll do. Okay, so let's get started with this. Let's get started, and after that, if we have some time, we'll also maybe develop some more features, or that will like demonstrate some other things. But for now, let's have this. Okay, first thing that will modify is the model layer that we have. So let's modify this model layer completely. Okay, so will modify this model layer, but yeah, I think let's delete the migrations as well. Okay, it is, we probably cannot do it like this. We can delete this entire migrations folder actually. Let's just delete. Okay. Models. Okay. First thing that will build is the user, and this will inherit from the Django users that's there. So from Django dot mod Django dot db dot models, import. Okay, let's see. Dot no, from Django dot, what is there, auth, is there auth or something? Django dot, let's see, where is the users model located? I forgot that. Did we do somewhere mini project? Just from Django.contrib.auth.model. From Django.contrib.auth.models will import user. Okay, class our user, so let's call it app user, or users, let's call it users, will be a base class will be user, and base class will be user, and what we can add the fields. What will not be there? Let's see the fields that were expected. So from users, id, name, address will not be there. Contact number, admin is there, so address, contact number, models dot char field, max length equals to 255. Let's say we'll give her 255 minute, and blank is true and null is true as well, so it can be blank and null as well. Null equals to true. Okay, address is there. What else is there? Contact number. So contact number will be a models dot char field. How many characters will be there? Like plus, then the extension number. Plus can be ignored actually, and extension number 2, and then 10, 12, right? So let's just have 12 or 13 maybe, like if we just take the plus as well. So 12 or 13, let's keep it 12 only. Blank equals to true, null equals to true, or let's keep it 13 because it will look nice. Let's keep it 13. These are the only things that we need for user, because the other fields will be available in the base user model that we are using, so we don't need to worry about them. Okay, user is done. After that, what we have need is shops. Okay, let's start with shops. So class shops, it is a models dot model, and here what we need to provide is id, name, right here. Okay, id equals to models dot, id is not needed, it's given by default. Name equals to models dot char field, max length equals to, let's say, 100 we give. Will not allow it to be null, so null equals to false, it cannot be null. So location can be models dot char field, sorry, models dot char field, max length equals to, again location will be similar to address, and blank true, null true. Yes, blank is true, null is true, and that's it. Okay, what about what is this one? Is open. Is open is a model dot boolean field, models dot boolean field, and default will be false. Basically we'll give a default value here, that is false. Average ratings is a model dot what can be, float, float field. Let's keep it a float field only, float field, and default equals to 0.0, and user id equals to models dot foreign key, on the table users, and on delete is models.cascade. That is, it will be deleted if user is deleted, the corresponding shop will be deleted. So on delete will write models.cascade. Okay, that's there. What else can we do? Okay, so shop is completed, right? Let's write the next part. So we'll try to create the at least the CRUD, every CRUD operation we'll try to create, and after that we can from in the next class we can take care of the remaining parts, authentication and those things. But yeah, let's just focus on every CRUD operation that we can do. So items, let's copy them. Class items models.model. Okay. ID we don't need. Name, yes, we need name. Name will be models.char field, models.char field, and will allow a maximum length to be, let's say, 100 words, and null should be false, it should not be null. Description equals to models.char field, we allow a max length of, let's say, 1000. Random things can be given. Null should be true and blank should be true. Blank should be true. Okay. After that, shop ID, it should be a foreign key, right? Shop ID should be a foreign key. So models.foreign key, and it's on the shops table, and on delete should be models.cascade. Okay. Price, what should be the price? It should be models dot it should be models.float field, and default can be given as 0.0, and is available is a models.boolean field, and by default it can be true. It can be true. Okay, so we have the items as well. Let's go to the next that we have. Class okay, class item image, right? Okay, so class item image and models.model, and we have ID is by default given, so we don't need to care about it. URI will be a models.char field, and max length can be 200, and null should be null, like image is added means it should be uploaded to S3. But initially if we are creating a record, when do we create a record? We should create a record only when the image is uploaded. So yeah, it should be false. It should have a image. And item ID will be models.foreign key, and on the items table, and on delete will be models.cascade. So this, okay, one more thing that we actually didn't talk about, like in the architecture, what if some images are deleted or some items are deleted, and yeah, like how are they still stored in S3? So that's actually a question that you might have, like if an item is deleted or image is deleted, should we still store it in S3, or when should we delete it? Like when we are actually deleting the item, that should trigger the delete request, or when should we do this? So to solve that, there are multiple ways. Yes, you can trigger it when actually the item gets deleted, but that makes very less sense, and that's not an optimal way to do things. So what we can do is we can have a cron job, a cleanup cron job that will run periodically, and that will basically create that task will be just to clean the S3 up. Like it will just check the database if there is a item with if there is a corresponding item record in the item image table. If there is a record in the item image table with respect to that URL, then it will not be deleting, otherwise it will just delete, right? So we can have a cron job like thingy. Okay, so maybe we can implement that as well later on. We'll look into this. Okay, you can also let me know if you have any questions. Class item image is this one. Item ID, okay, it's done. Next part, user. User is done, right? We'll go. Okay, for user actually there's a is staff method that's there, but we can add like is admin would look better. Like is staff also makes sense, but we can use a is so is staff is there. If you see is staff is there, but let's just keep is admin equals to models dot boolean field, and by default it will be false, right? By default it will be false. So that's there. Okay. uh Item image, and after that we can have, we can have order items and cart items and reviews. Okay. uh okay, we have to create the orders table, right? Let's copy these fields. Class orders models dot model. Okay, invoice number, it will be a char field, so models dot char field. And max length will be, let's say max length will be 30 words. Right, and null should be false, so it should generate an invoice number always before creating. So user ID, it should be a so it will be a models dot foreign key on the user table, and on delete should be models dot cascade. Do we want to delete the invoices? Like, I'm not sure like if we should delete the orders, because if the user deletes his account, if we delete the orders, then we lose the invoice or everything. Maybe it's not a good idea to delete, but in our case we don't worry about those things, so we can just delete. But maybe it's not a good idea to delete from the orders table. So foreign key will be on the shop table. I think you have understood like why am I concerned here. Like, it will lose all the invoice and those things, so that might not be uh cascade. Maybe if the user deletes the account, we should not delete, right? We should not delete on delete. On delete, model struct set null. It will just set it to null maybe. Yeah, let's see what is set null. So okay, null equals to fill null. uh on delete equals to models means if the owner existing deleted the set this field for existing object to null. Okay, yeah, that's what we want, right? If the user is deleted, we just set this to null. Class orders is done. Class order items, and we'll have models. We'll have models dot model, and so it will have order ID. Okay, what was the schema? Order ID and item ID. Awesome. So we can have order ID. Yes, order ID, and it can belong to models dot model. Sorry, models dot what am I writing? Sorry, models dot foreign key, and it will be on orders table, and on delete will be, if the order is deleted, then maybe cascade, like remove this this item as well. And item id equals to models dot foreign key, and on items and on delete, like if the item is deleted, there is no sense of deleting the order as well because it was available before. So we should set it to null again, set null, right? Because it doesn't make any sense to delete the item. So class order items, after that we'll go for class order items. We have cart items. Okay, order items is done. Cart items, reviews and review images. Okay, we are almost there. So cart items will be user id, and so cart items will be models dot model. It will contain user id equals to models dot foreign key, and on user table, and on delete, yes, if the user is deleted, there's no point of having his cart, so cascade. And user id and item id equals to models dot foreign key. If the item is deleted, again that corresponding entry, there's no point of having it in the cart, so items and on delete should be models dot cascade, because why should we have an item that's not there, right? Cascade. Cart items is done. Now finally class reviews, and we are towards the end, so reviews and review images are the only things that are remaining. So models dot model, what are the fields that we thought for reviews? Let's have them. Okay, user id should be foreign key, so models dot foreign key on users table, and on delete should be models dot cascade. Shop id is foreign key again, so models dot model, sorry, models dot foreign key on shop, and on delete again is models dot cascade. Okay, and ratings equals to models dot sorry, models dot, it should be models dot float field, maybe whatever reading they want to provide, and default will be equals to 0.0, or you can set the default to 5.0. By default they should give a 5.0 rating, and reduce, or let's just do that. Default is 5. Oh, let's leave that. Models dot foreign comments is char field, and yes, max length will keep it as 1000, and yes, and null equals to true and blank is true. Okay, also one more thing, like when you are actually adding the review, right, when you are adding the review for a shop, it should also update the shop's average ratings as well, right? It should update accordingly, so that should be also done. Give me, let me know if you have any doubts till now. Otherwise, in case if you have some doubts, we can take care of those. Otherwise, we'll just continue. So yeah, let's just write the final model that we have. So review images. Okay, we have done a lot of things. Images, we have models dot model, and what will it contain? It will contain the id, review id, uri. Okay, uri equals to models dot char field, and what was the default value that we had set? So we had set it the uri to 100, I believe. 200. Okay, we had set it to 200. Maybe 100. Okay, 200 is okay. So let's set this again. And review ID, sorry, review. Okay, why did we write here user ID? It should be user, right? User and item, and here also it should be user. We are setting up foreign key, we are not putting the ID here. So shop, and review will be models dot foreign key, and it will be on the reviews table, and it will be a on delete will be models dot cascade. Okay, let's first fix, like everywhere we have written ID only, so let's just fix this up. So I order item, user ID, and shop ID we don't need, item ID we don't need, shop ID we don't need, user ID we don't need. Yes, that should be it. So this is the entire model layer that we have. Okay, so this is the entire model layer that we'll have. Okay, let me know if you have any, which ID are you using. I'm using webs, so this is PyCharm that I'm using. PyCharm has a free edition as well. I'm using that only. I'm using the community edition of PyCharm, so you can also use that, or you can use any other ID as well. Okay, let me know if you have any doubts still here, like whatever we have done till now. So this is the entire model layer that we have built up, and after this we'll start writing the code for the APIs that we want to have. So let me know if you have any doubts. We'll wait for 2 minutes and then we'll proceed with the remaining part. So after this, we'll look into the views. So meanwhile, you can ask me if you have any queries. Not views, basically we'll add the serializers first, and after that we'll add the views. So if you have some queries meanwhile, we can take them. Any questions that you have? Yes, PyCharm. Okay, is everything clear? Then we can move to the serializers part. Like we have just created the models. I think there should be no doubt. Okay, we'll go ahead with the serializers part. Uh, let's go. So serializers.py will come here. Okay, user serializer, we might actually need this. So let's, for now, let's just keep this part. And from users, models, we had a users, right? Class users, yes. Okay, I think it's not getting the new fields that. Oh, okay. I think we are in a different directory here. Okay, my bad. Let's have whatever it is here. Okay. We'll come to this later. First of all, let's focus on our part. What is our application? Sample app, to do app. Is this one? No. The project is the path. UC models.py. Okay, Django projects. I think on the Django projects, it should be sample project. Okay, this one is the application. So sample project, and we are at models.py. Yes. So let's go to serializers, and we'll modify here. Okay. Uh, First is we'll see what serializers do we need actually. So we will need serializers for we'll need serializers for the AP endpoints that we have here. So we have shops. We'll need a shops serializer. We'll need user serializer. We'll need items. So users, shops, items, orders. Uh, let's see. User, shop, items, orders, cart, and reviews. So orders, cart, items, and reviews. Cool. So this is the for these we have to create the serializers. Okay. Okay, so for user serializer, we'll just maybe we'll just use this existing one that's there. So we'll because that takes care of the authentication part as well. So we'll just go to the serializer, and yes, let's just have this. Okay, we have it enclosed. Let's just try. Yes. So let's have a class user serializer. Class user serializer, and it will be a serializers dot model serializer. So we'll just try to enable let's keep the two things open, that is views and users. We'll just try to enable Knox authentication as well. So that's what we'll try to do as well. And serializer should be kept open. That should do. Okay, so we have copied here users, model will be users, fields will be username, password. What are the fields that you want? So let's write all the fields that we want here. So username is there, password is there, email we want maybe. What other than that, what do we want? We want is admin. So is okay. Before that we want other fields as well, like address, contact number, and is admin. So address, we will need the contact number, and we'll need the is admin. So you can do it like this as well, or you can do it like run a loop and do it as well. So that's totally fine. Again, so users is taken, and users, and we'll pass in the email to be validated data email, and user dot set password and dot save. Okay, so that's the user serializer. Cool. After this we'll have the remaining serializers quickly. Okay, so first we'll have the shop serializer. So class shop serializer, and serializers dot model serializer. And here what we'll provide with the class meta and model. So yes, class meta model equals to users, shops, and fields equals to all. Okay. Class shop serializer is given. Class what? Next will be class what serializer. Okay, class user shop item serializer. Okay. What do we have here? Items. So item serializer. Do we actually? Yes, we need a item serializer as well. Serializers dot model serializer and class meta and model equals to items and fields equals to all. Okay. What else do we need? Class order serializer. Serializers dot model serializer and class meta model equals to orders and fields equals to all. Class order serializer हो गया. Cart items and reviews. Class cart item serializer. Serializers dot model serializer. Class meta model equals to cart item and fields equals to all. Finally, we'll have the class reviews serializer and serializers dot model serializer and class meta and model equals to reviews and fields equals to all. Okay, so this is the entire. Okay, so this is the entire serializer that will have. We have created serializer for everything. Now it's time to create their corresponding views, right? So it's done. Do let me know if you have any doubts, or if you have any doubts with this part. Like user serializer, basically this what it does is it calls the set password. So there is a user dot set password that basically encrypts the password before storing it, right? So that's why we have to we cannot store the password in the database as raw text, otherwise it will give error. So for that reason we have to use this use set password method to first encrypt the password and then save it. So yeah, that's why it has the password and then save it, and that's why we have like otherwise it will throw an error. So what we have done here is we have overridden the create method. So create method is generally called during it's always called during the create phase, like we are using model view sets, right? So there'll be a create endpoint, right? That's the post. So create endpoint, it will also call this serializer create method and with the data, and that time the password will be set properly. So that's the work of this part. Okay, yeah, so we have done a few things. Cool, let's go ahead with the views. So we'll remove the URLs for now. Views.py. Okay, so first of all we'll remove these things, whatever is there here right now. Maybe this can be kept. Hello. Other than that we can remove everything for now. from models import users, shops, items, cart items, orders, reviews, everything. And from dot serializers import user serializer, shop serializer, cart item serializer, items serial item serializer. Okay, we can even give uh here cart item serializer. What else? Item serializer. What else? Cart item order serializer and review serializer. Okay. First of all, we'll do things very quickly. So tasks, we'll not think about this yet. So task, UUID, sub process, everything will get rid of everything for now. Okay. First, let's quickly create the view set, all the view sets, and then we can go ahead. So class user view set, view sets. We haven't imported view sets. We have imported model view set. Okay. Class model view set and query set equals to users dot objects dot all, and serializer class equals to user serializer. Okay, we'll make modifications on this later on. Let's first quickly create the view sets. So class shop view set, shops view set, model view set, it's a model view set, and query set equals to shops dot objects dot all, and serializer class equals to shops serializer. Okay, class shops view set is done. After this, we'll have class cart items view set. So cart items view set, it will be a model view set, and query set is cart items dot objects dot all, and serializer class is basically cart item serializer. Okay, so class after that items view set and model view set, and query set equals to items dot objects dot all, and serializer class equals to item serializer. So class after that we'll have class orders view set. It will be a model view set, and query set equals to order dot objects dot all, and serializer class equals to order serializer. Okay, and finally class reviews I think is only pending. So reviews view set will be a model view set, and query set equals to reviews dot objects dot all, and serializer class equals to reviews serializer. Okay. Okay, so this should be we will just get rid of these things, and this will be a simple health check API. So let's write it as health check. Health check. Okay. So we have created the view sets. I think all the view sets have been created. Okay. What is happening? We could have done it much before this. Like, let's do it around here. We want to partition to a new line, so we can write like this. So Cool. So we have created the view sets, and this is it, right? Okay. Now we have to do the specifications on inside them, like whatever is needed. So first thing that we can do is we can complete with the users part, right? So users part means the authentication. So we have already we had written code for this. We'll probably use that part. So what we can do is we have this code written here that does the login and those things. So we can have a login view like separately, like completely separately. For register, we can yep. Okay, so register we can actually have, but login we can we probably will have to reuse the existing one. So let's just copy this one. Okay, register will be simple, but let's create a new view for the login. Okay, so from nox dot views import um okay, so from nox dot, what was it, where was it importing from? So nox login view, it's coming from nox dot views import login view. Okay, so nox, from nox dot login view, from nox import login view, import login view as nox login view. So and permissions, we can have the permissions here as well. From REST framework dot permissions import allow any. So we can get rid of allow any like this. And serializer, we can have auth token serializer from nox dot serializers import auth. Okay, auth token serializer, where is that? Let's look into this as well. Auth token serializer is in REST framework dot serializer. Okay, so we have this one, so we'll use this dot REST framework dot serializer, you import auth token serializer. So we have this, and login will be from Django dot, I think from Django dot something. So from Django dot auth utils. Okay, let's just see where it is. Login is from Django dot contrib dot auth. Okay, so we can have Django dot contrib dot auth is login. Format equals to none. Data equals to request dot data. Serializer user equals to validate data. Login and login view request post. Okay, so we get we have the login view. This is the login. But for the register part, we can do it ourselves, right? How can we do it? So def create. So this will be the create. This will be the create endpoint. Now, what can we do here? Or we can actually create a register endpoint, right? We can create a register endpoint, that is okay. So at the rate, let's see what do we have. So from REST framework dot decorators, we have some import authentication classes, permission classes, and one second. Django view set, model view set, add custom endpoints. I think we can do that. How can we do that? Action, yes, at the rate action, and it is from cool. @action. So from REST framework dot decorators import action, and so let's do this. Okay, not here actually. So we want it in use.py. Okay, here only. From REST framework dot decorators import action, and we can have something like this, that this @action detail URL name works, or we can even give @permission, I think, on top of the we can add the decorator here, permission classes. So def create, and on top of this we can add the permission class. Permission class is allow in, right? So we'll allow anyone to create an element here. So yes, so let's have the request here. So we'll have the request here. Let's look into this one. So how do we register quickly? I think there's nothing in registration, at least. So we have serializer and just save. Okay, so we just have serializer and save. So we'll just return super. So what we can do is return super dot create and request and args and queries. Sorry, we can just call this, and this will call the registration API, right? Now focusing on, so this is the login, like the entire login flow is now done. Like we have the login API, or we have to have a logout view as well. So we can use the same Knox view, but we can do that later. So we have this login part. Now for users, if we remember what were the data. Okay, for users we wanted login, logout. Logout has to be done, login is done. Then we wanted we have users slash get users and details of the requesting users. Okay, details of the requesting user. So def list. Okay, so by default we have to set the permission class, right? So permission class is equals to is authenticated. So let's import is authenticated as well. Permission classes, and from REST framework dot permissions is authenticated. But how is it taking the permission classes? Weird. We remove this one, do we still get the issue? Okay, it still works. Cool. Let's have this. So def list, and okay, permission class will be is authenticated, and def list will be request user equals to request dot user, and will filter the data based on its ID. So returns response. The response we have to import as well. From REST framework dot response import response. So we have imported response. So return response, and use self dot serializer, self dot get serializer, self dot get serializer data. So okay, so we have the user, current user, and we have to return that, right? So self dot get serializer user, and dot data, and status equals to 200. Okay, so we have returned response, and we have returned this response, that is the serialized the user data, and the status will be 200. So we'll just give some spaces here. Okay, so this will give the details of the user who is requesting it only. So because we are taking the request.user, so only the user who is requesting for this, only his data will be given, right? Okay, so other than that, anything on users, patch delete on users, that's there. So that will use the existing methods only. uh, Second, we can maybe complete one more, right? What we can complete is, what can we complete? We can complete shop. Maybe we can complete the shop, like that's a simple one as well. Or do we actually have anything particular to a shop? Like let's see the endpoints. If we see shop, okay, post shop name location is needed. Yes, so post shop name and location is needed. So uh, we have to like make sure that the data is proper here. So for that, or we can do it later on as well, shops. So anything that interests us. Items, what are the details of items? Let's see. So items can be models name, description, shop price, is available. Okay, items, I think we have to provide everything together. Like price is available is the default value that it will take as to be true, and other than that we have to provide the name and these things. So let's, I think we don't have to do anything here as well, right? For items, because it can be added by default, so that's not a problem. Also shop addition, we should make sure that the shop addition should be done only by a admin user, or like is admin as in only by a admin user, because otherwise, like normal, we have to differentiate between normal users and shop owners, right? So a normal user cannot add a shop. So for that we have a is admin field, and we have to add a permission layer. Like we have to add a permission layer that will just check for those APIs that it will check just that if is admin is set to be true or not. Okay, so that's there. Okay, we'll actually stop here. Let me know if you have any doubts, and we'll do the rest of the things the other day. So yeah, we'll be like, maybe we'll be taking more yeah, we can get it done actually the next day completely. Like it will take around 1.5 hours, and the remaining part we can focus on deployments and those things. So yeah, I think it can be done. Like the heavy part was deciding on the APIs and designing the database schema, and also like manual effort was like writing all the models and the serializers and the views. So we have done that. So next, mostly it's like adding the important parts, right? And we can get it done easy, like within us sometime. So we'll continue in the next day. So let me know if you have any doubts, like if you have any doubts from today. So we have covered some manual work, and we have the most important part is we have decided on the set of APIs that will create, and also we have decided on the database schema. So these are the major tasks that we have done. Okay, so let me know if you have any doubts, or otherwise we can end the class here today. Like that should be it. So let's, we can you can ask me any question, like if you we are towards the end of this, like of the backend course, and after this we'll start something new from the new year basically. So yeah, let's see what interesting I can bring here. So that's also there. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions for me, or I can help you with something, or anything that you have from today itself. You can ask me. And yeah, I would and also I would recommend you please to attend the next class, because in the next class we'll be learning some new things as well. Like firstly, how do we actually do these things? Like we are actually not creating, if you see, we are not creating views for order for these things, right? Like order items, let's say, or for image item image, or for review image and those things. So how do we like get them done in a single endpoint? Secondly, we have seen already how do we create custom endpoints. Like this is how exactly, actually we haven't seen, right? We have just used the create method. So we'll see how do we create custom endpoints. So there will be some custom endpoints as well, like items slash image or reviews slash image, something like that. So how do we create custom endpoints as well on a view set? We'll look into that as well. And also thirdly, the permission, like a user cannot normal user cannot add a shop, but only users who are actually like admins, they can only add a shop. So in that we can have that corresponding like permission. We have to create a custom permission class that will actually do that thing. So we'll learn about that as well. How do we create custom permission classes, right? So it will be kind of fun, like the next class. And after that we'll also, like if we have time, I'm hoping that we have time, so we'll also learn about how do we actually deploy. We have already learned about Docker and those things, but yeah, like how do we actually deploy, we can learn about that as well. So yeah, that's mostly that we'll do. And I'll also keep some things ready, like for example, like code for uploading image, we have already done that. And I'll also keep the buckets and those things configured, and so that we can easily, like we don't take waste much time on those things. So that's something that I'll keep ready in the next class. But yeah, these are the few things that we'll cover. So let me know if you have any questions for me, or if I can help you with something. Other than that, we'll end the class here today. Any questions that you have for me? Anything that I can help you with? Okay. Looks like no one has any question. Cool. If you don't have any question for me, totally fine. Uh, yeah. So make sure what? So make sure you have joined us on the Telegram channel, and you have also subscribed to this channel and hit the bell icon so that you are notified about whenever I'm coming live. So the next class will be probably on Sunday, 26th. And yeah, make sure you like and share the stream as well with your friends so that they are also benefited. And thanks for joining, and have a very good night, and have a Merry Christmas as well.